As a business owner, I think your most valuable thing is your time. And then the correlation between turning notifications off and owning a business, there's something there. It's like you understand that these apps all make you the product. So when you're the product and it's like you're trying to get my attention, you know what your attention is worth, and you're like, you're not going to Bing and get my attention.
Yeah, man. When you're in business, you sort of plan your day, right? Like you want to plan your day. So you want to have some structure. There's things that you want to get through. Notifications or your phone is somebody else trying to get your attention, right?
Yep.
It's trying to notify you. Gee, it's the weather app trying to tell you that there's a heat wave going through. Well, I can feel it.
Yeah.
I don't need my phone to tell me, but people are so accustomed to when there's a notification or something pings, that's important. I've got to have a look at it. Right. In business, we talk about the important, unurgent, important, urgent, unimportant, urgent, emails, right? Emails, text messages, those sorts of things are mostly unimportant but urgent. That's the category that they fall into, right? Yep. Urgent because they're a notification, they're a ping, there's an alarm, there's like alert. You just got to check this. It's on our phones these days. People, hang on, let me just check my phone. But for the best part of it, if you turn all of that off, you get to focus on what you're actually doing today, and that's the people in front of you. My biggest thing is at work is to be with the people around me.
Yep.
Right? And that is not on my mobile phone. Like that's not communicating to people via text or that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, I do a lot of it because we're sort of remote as well. We've got multiple locations, but I definitely don't want to be distracted by notifications on my phone.
Yeah. From
apps. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well there's like somehow every new app that like at the moment for us is Duolingo. So we're going to Japan in February, so it's like, we want to learn Japanese and this and that. And now I've like found the maths inside Duolingo as well. So like I'm sharpening up my maths, and now you can learn music in there. I'm doing the music thing. But now I get like on the iPad especially, this thing goes off like every 3 hours.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Like, ding, and you're like, brother, it's a language app. Why do you need...
It wants to be the most important thing in your life, right?
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, this is how apps are built. This is how they get your attention. This is how they get you to subscribe. This is how they get you to pay for a premium feature.
Yep.
Hang on, this is something else that you could be paying for. And like all of a sudden you're paying for these things, for these services that you think you want.
You think you need is
and
a problem.
You think you need as well. And they're very good at this, right? Like that's what they're designed to do. So
I spent $170 accidentally on Duolingo.
There you go.
$170. What the it's
probably while you were meant to be doing something else that was really important, pre-planned.
No, not even that. It's just start the free trial and we'll take it out in 7 days. And like day number 6, you're like, I got to cancel it. And then day number 7, you're like, we've taken the money.
Yeah, 100%.
What is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
See me coming. But mind you, I like, especially like YouTube, like I pay the $14 whatever a month for premium. It's the best money I spend because I don't get advertised to.
Yeah, 100%.
So in a way, you're taking away that noise, that ping, whatever it is in between, like halfway through the video, like, buy Nesquik or whatever they're advertising to you.
Yep.
Getting rid of that is worth $14. But then like you're getting rid of advertising in Duolingo so that you can get, through your lesson without being advertised something to do with travel because obviously you're learning a language because you're going to be traveling, da-da-da.
Yeah.
But then... okay, is it worth $170? Well, not in one payment. If we divide it by 12, is it worth that? Maybe.
Yeah. Mate, you got to remember, like, you got to pay for product. You got to pay for somebody's time. You got to pay for product. You got to pay for what you want and use. And if you're using that app, man, if you use a free version, well, you pay with your time.
Correct.
You pay with your attention, right?
Yep.
But the problem is you lose control. So you're no longer choosing to buy something and get the value from that thing. You're giving your time up, which is uncontrolled, and somebody else is choosing what you're going to spend your time on.
That's right.
And that is uncontrolled spending. Yeah. Because you don't know which rabbit hole you're going to go down, that sort of thing. Mate, that's where apps and mobile phones are so, like, they're attention-grabbing devices. That's what they're trying to do. Yeah. And they're just trying to get you to spend money. Ultimately, that's the
whole
end game for any app developer of mobile phone, right?
But also, being in, like, I'm about to enter the paid marketing world, and I know you're in paid, you pay to market,
We
correct?
will soon be. But,
really?
Mate, how's this? Yeah, we spent the last 12... I made a really conscious decision that... I didn't want to be spending Google AdWords until I had a website and I had I was able to capture those leads, capture the data. Yeah. So no point going fishing, right, with the biggest boat and rods and things like that if you didn't have the nets to catch them and you couldn't take them back to shore, right? Type of scenario, right? We went live with a new website last year, 15 months ago. And we knew that inquiries, new customers, like that it's important to be able to attract somebody. They reach out to you. How do you handle them so that you can turn them into a customer, right? Until you've got that pipeline sort of defined down, there's no point spending money to try to find more, right?
Yeah.
So what we did is we've actually paid for a web SEO consultant because we wanted to build a cracking website that organically was positioned well on Google.
Yep.
So we spent 12 months doing that and we saw huge upshot. And to be honest, it's worked. We've had plenty of people reach out to be like, you guys rank really well and you're getting huge traffic.
Beautiful.
How are you paying for that type of something? We're like, it's all organic.
That's amazing.
But 12 months in, we're going to shift that next year for sure. And we're going to go to Google AdWords and drive that traffic because, again, we're paying for it. So we're able to choose how our ads show up and that sort of thing, knowing that they're going to attract through to a website that we've optimized and we've got great landing pages and we've got a system. Correct, exactly right. Otherwise, you are attracting, and don't get me wrong, you're going to win business from that. But is it wasteful? Yeah, absolutely. It certainly can be. So, and probably a good balance of the two. But I'm a believer in business is a time-built process.
Yep.
We don't need to be trying to rush to do everything at the same time because we often do it poorly, or we take shortcuts, or we don't complete what we should complete, So because you just got too many plates spinning almost. So we focus on one. Cool, let's get the website right. Cool, let's get our attraction sort of model and our CRM right so that we can actually handle the customer inquiries and make sure that we follow up properly. No point getting 100 leads if you literally only call 20 of them.
Yeah.
And of the 20 you call, you forget to follow up 10 of them because you don't have a system, because you're too busy handling the new leads that have just come in that you've just paid for.
Yeah. And also you're giving them a bad experience.
Absolutely.
Which is like
you get one
as bad as not
right.
telling them,
Yeah, 100%.
It's like you've got their attention, you got to the website, they've inquired, and then they're just sitting there going like, oh, well, should I wait longer? Should I just go I know I want these transfers or this machine. Should I just... They're going to answer my email.
Yeah.
They're going to answer my call. And this is the thing, the real scary part for me is like if you got them thinking about that purchase to begin with and then they end up going somewhere else, it's like the disservice you've done to yourself
100%
is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd prefer 10 inquiries and handling them really well and turning it into 5 new customers than 30 new leads that we handle 15-ish okay and we get 5 new customers, because you are literally slandering your brand out there as to how you handle customers and your process or what your business sort of stands for.
Yep.
Mate, you're destroying your name out there. So I know this is a challenge in a world where the market turns so quickly. Like don't get me wrong. The business cycle used to be like sort of 7 years, 10 years, right? And it is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we've got to be conscious of that. We don't have 10 years to develop a product and define it and get it right, because in 10 years' time, you will be well left behind.
Yeah.
But we also don't have 6 months, right, to develop a product, release it, win the customer, and then the new thing is come along. Like with business, there is a longer pipeline than that.
Yep.
It is years, whether it's 3-4 years or getting to the 6. It's not the 10 anymore.
Yeah.
It's not the 20 years that you could just be doing the same thing anymore.
Yep.
But you've got years, right? So I think the best businesses are built through organic growth. That you then, you can drive, but you've got to build the foundations, man, and you got to walk, right?
Yeah.
Like business is not a sprint. Businesses that sprint fall over.
I think the bit of advice you gave me yesterday was like grow, and then plateau and let the business catch up to what you've done.
Absolutely.
So, man, the perspective in that, I was just like, I feel like all I've done for 4 years is grow. Like every month has kind of been, if it hasn't been bigger, it's been different. And it's like the perspective has changed and we've had to go like, all right, out of everything we do, we're going to get rid of the peripheral stuff. And then you kind of narrow. And in that, you're getting new equipment, you're learning new skills, you're dealing with new types of customers, you're dealing with bigger amounts of money, you're dealing with different types of negotiations. And I feel like we're at a point now, obviously you're here in WA because you're installing a Mimaki printer for us, which is
exciting.
like a new massive bit of growth for us. We've been dealing with these transfers now since you called me in February. Essentially, we were dealing with a competition for a little period before that, and then we went over to your transfers, and then that turned into a conversation of like, Ben, I think I want my own printer, you know? And I feel like we're now at a point where it's like, I'm super happy to try and plateau for like 6 months and just catch up and obviously like, you know, get some money back in the bank and really master this thing.
Cash is king, right? Yeah. And something, my uncle gave me some really good advice when I was much, much younger, because he could see me entrepreneur. I just want to keep growing and pushing lots of stuff. And he said, Ben, you have to let the wheel turn, right? Build the wheel, but you have to have periods where you let it turn, right? You will always be cash poor. So, you know, you won't be rich, right? And rich is, if somebody asks how, you know, are you rich or do you feel rich? You know, it's to do with disposable income, right? It's to do with cash, right? How you could spend your money after all your bills and all that sort of stuff, that sort of thing. Mate, when you are growing, when you are pushing development, when you are implementing new things, new products, new website, new staff, you're just like, let's keep upscaling this, you will always be cash poor. Or like you'll always be cash poor, right? Because you're constantly reinvesting. Sure, your balance sheet might be getting bigger, your business turnover is massively growing, that sort of thing, but you'll absolutely be cash poor. You have to take stock and stop for a second and go, you know what we've got, let the wheel turn, because that's why you're building it, right? You're building it, it's a mechanism to provide a product or service to a customer's needs. You know, you're solving somebody's problems and pain points. When you grow, you often get you get fat as well, because we don't all make the most perfect decisions, right? So often we throw people at problems, okay? We've got pain points because we're growing so quickly, we can't service the customers well enough. We need more customer service staff, or we need more something else, or I just need another production person. And you keep throwing people at problems is often how people solve things, especially when the wheels start falling off. And wheels will fall off, or you feel like you're in a blaze of glory, right? On fire. And so you start throwing money at problems to sort of solve them, right? Or temporarily band-aid solution. So when you're growing, you're throwing money at problems, you're trying to spend money on infrastructure to grow. You have to stop growing and go, you know what, we don't want the business to grow. What I'm going to do, though, is trim the fat. Okay. And ultimately you start looking, you're still trying to improve. Never close your eyes and just go, oh, I'm just going to go through the motions here. No. You stop and you go, for the next year, I don't want to make mega growth changes. What I'm going to do is trim the fat, you know, and look at my processes. Okay, how can we do what's coming in the door? Or how do we do what we're doing right now, but just do it better? Right? And you become a leaner business. You become a better structured business. It might be better process. It might be, look at where you're wasteful. And trim the fat. When you trim the fat and you go, okay, now we're really efficient and effective business. We've been running. By trimming the fat, all of a sudden you're like, gee, we were spending a lot of money on waste. And it might be purely that. It might be the waste bin, you know, and it might be something else. And it might be all these things that you renegotiate on supplier prices and stuff like that, because you didn't do it properly when you engaged with them, because you were just like, we just need this now. Still, trim all of that. And then you go, hang on, we're making some good cash. Like, this is a really good business and it's rolling. And then you have the ability to go, okay, now we've banked some cash. What's the next step for the business? Often people grow themselves broke. And the business never has they never stop to actually let the wheel turn. They never stop to actually trim. Right. And when they don't do those, they just grow themselves broke. And all of a sudden they're the business that fail. Right.
Yeah, I feel like there's a few different like elements or indicators in that trimming the fat as well. And I feel like the biggest thing when I really try and pause myself daily, and I try and pause myself probably every 2-3 months, and then pause myself at least once a year. And usually it's around this time, you know, because you've got an easy time with Christmas, New Year's, and you're like kind of sit down, do your goal setting for the year and blah, blah, blah. I feel like the biggest thing that I'm like trying to get more back of is my bandwidth. Because I have this... We're in this real moment where everyone loves to say they got ADD or ADHD or something. It's like, I feel like we've
all got something.
It's a superpower for me.
We're on the spectrum.
It's fucking awesome, you know, because I can think about 40 things at once, and at the end of the day, they all come together into a nice, line for me and that's it. So I feel like, all right, if I can think of 40 things at once, I want to make sure that it's good, a good 40 things, 40 good things, sorry. I don't want to be worried about Duolingo. I don't want to be worried about what the neighbor's talking about. I don't want to be worried about, it's like those 40 things, literally 25 need to be about my business. And what's left is like my fiance, my dog, my parents, my house, my family, my community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like for me, it was, and we'll use the DTF printer as an example. That feels like it's a big financial growth thing. That was like, how much are we spending a week on this? How much is a DTF printer? And if we spent that much a week, how long would it take to pay off that printer? And it was a very clear thing. It's like, okay, also if we have the printer, we cut out a week of wait time for our customers. Because for us to get in enough orders to justify ordering a gang sheet, to then send it to you, for you to print it, then send it across the country to us, for us to get it out and cut it up, blah, blah, it's like, it's a week.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a week on a good day, So that was like all right, we now go from having to take in all these orders and prepare them and send them and pay for them to now just the orders come in, go straight into production. Production goes straight into the printer and then it's a thing. So it's like that just immediately alleviates bandwidth and we get to own a bit of machinery at the end of the day.
Yeah, correct.
So that, I feel like the phase of trying to get more efficient with, I feel like I'm pretty efficient with my spending. Like obviously we're talking about a totally different scale of business. I'm year 4, you're year
18.
Right.
19. Yeah.
Right. So the problems that you're solving at the moment are like beasts compared to my little bugs that I'm cutting in half. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm at those first however many years. Some people say it's 12 months. I think it's more like the first 5 years are like really make or break. You can make a decision any one of those days that completely throw you out and take years to recover from.
Yeah, 100%.
And I feel like to make those decisions the best as possible, you have your decision-making ability, but you have your bandwidth to be able to manage the decision. It's like knowing to not immediately emotionally respond to something, to like, all right, this customer just sent me an email saying, this went wrong and that went wrong. Right. It's like, all right, instead of calling this guy an asshole, I'm going to sleep on it for the weekend. I'm going to email him Monday and be like, yeah, let's fix the problem. It's all good.
100%.
I've only just got that skill in my book. And even then, I had nowhere near refined. It's like I still on Monday go, like politely, you can go stuff yourself, but here's how we're going to solve the problem.
I'm going to put that through ChatGPT first. Don't sound like an asshole.
Yeah. Remove my negative tone, would you? But yeah, I tell you what, I've got you brought up something yesterday and I thought, I'm really going to just like pause on that and wait until we're talking on the podcast because this is a really hot topic. So 2 weeks and 2 days ago, I had a surgery where I got my vasectomy reversed, which is it's
balls.
a thing. Yeah, balls.
No pun intended.
It's a hectic thing, but obviously it's with the intention of like Riz and I are starting to like seriously consider having a family, which we've never really I'm never going to be get married or have kids or any of that. I'm an only child. I grew up in a like interesting sort of environment my whole life, so I was very much like, you know what, this world sucks. It's just for me. I'm the prince. I'm going to live forever. And then met Riz, and then long story short, after 6 years, I'm like, no, this is definitely like, she's awesome. I want to marry her for the sake of letting her know I'm into her. And if I was to have kids, she's going to be the mum, And then you start going down that road, and it's like, I guess I'd probably like being a dad and all these things. And then alongside that, we've got this business that's happening. And now we're 4 years in, but Black Ink's been around for like 10 years now. So the whole business idea has been boiling in the background. My dad had bought a business for not much and sold it for a whole heap after owning it for 10 years through my teenage years. So I've got this like exposure to business and what it does to a man in your problem solving ability and your like dealing with difficulty and growing and dealing with people and it's really like this sort of, I'm going to put it down to problem solving ability, just your ability to manage life.
Yeah.
Things happen. Staff members get sick or they go through things in their life and you have to like adjust around that. So you're dealing with these emotional and physical and spiritual things all the time. So tying all this together, I've also got a lot of people who are telling me like, man, you have no idea what it's like to be a dad. Hey, being a parent's going to change your life. And I have this like automatic response in my mind. Like I've been a professional athlete when I was a teenager. Like I've been through some crappy relationships. I've been through some really interesting times with business. And even Riz and I, like any relationship, have been through hard times, I understand that being a parent is like nothing else that I've experienced before. But most people haven't experienced what you go through day to day in business, dealing with difficulty and tough times and bad situations and customers and this and blah, 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 blah. Tell me, you told me yesterday there was a period where you were going from, you were literally like shift work. With managing a child, you know, like a
newborn. Months old.
And you were like on swap with homegirl, just like, right, I'm the parent, you're in the business, and then swap. So tell me, what is the difference between running a business and being a parent, and where are the similarities?
Mate, they're both your children, right? Your business is your baby, and for me it is, right? And don't get me wrong, having children is the most wonderful thing you will ever do. It gives you a purpose beyond yourself. Right, and so it is the most beautiful thing to do, and I absolutely say, mate, do it. It's beautiful. It'll be one of the most challenging things you do. Running a business and the neediness of a business and the non-predictability of business or a small business is probably very similar to having a child, right? You are constantly learning in business. You don't know the future, that sort of stuff, which is like having a newborn for the first time ever, right? But the thing is, man, what you'll realize is having a child, like at the end of it, there's so much help around you. There's often people around you, right, that help carry you through. And it's the same in business. I heard a saying like, and it was around women, you don't know how strong a woman is until you put them into boiling water. Or women are like tea bags. You don't know how strong they are until you put them in boiling water, right? Like people, you don't know how strong you are until you put yourself in boiling water.
Yeah, for sure.
When people have children for the first time, it's often the most challenging period that they ever go through, right?
Okay.
Cool. And that's what their reference point is on life and how hard it is and that sort of stuff. Running a business, starting a business from scratch and building a business from scratch is often the hardest thing that anybody will ever do.
Yeah.
And so that's their basis point on that. They're two completely sort of different things, but they're both extremely challenging. They push you to grow beyond what you think you were previously capable of doing, you know. I know having our daughters, like being up, you're up throughout the night, you know, you still have to go to work. You don't get to just, had a terrible night's sleep last night, so I'm just going to
call in sick.
No, they get up in the morning whether you get up at night, you know. Going out and have some drinks of the night before.
Yeah.
You get home at 2 a.m. Previous to children, you'd be able to have a sleep in. You get in home at 3, 4 a.m. because you've had a big night. Mate, they do not care. Yeah. They are up at 6 a.m. and you are up with them. Yeah. Like that is on. You don't get to forsake life, you know, like you don't be able to, it's not on your timeline anymore, right? It is on somebody else's, and business is kind of like that. The business has its own timeline and is rolling, and you are now a part of it. And so you've got to raise that business, and it's like children, you got to raise them. Having two, like a startup business and having a newborn as well, is like just, it's handling two tornadoes at once.
Yeah.
But again, you make it work.
Yep.
Right? Like you just make it work. You don't know how strong you are until you are in that situation.
Yep.
And you make it work. Adversity makes people stronger.
Yep.
Right? Having a newborn, having a child gives you a purpose to work and push beyond what you previously thought was capable of. You know, we see people do some astounding things. So they're astonishing things that they never thought they would be able to do. You know, they climb the highest peaks, they run the farthest run, like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And not until they've done it, they go, gee, I never thought I would have done that until I did it.
But then I feel like yes, and the taste for difficulty. Like, I don't know about you, but I love hard shit.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean? Like I love doing wheelies on my... For people who listen to my podcast, I reference wheelies as a metaphor for everything.
Yep, got it.
So I learned how to do wheelies about 4 years ago. Like,
is this wheelies on a motorbike?
A push bike. It did go into motorbikes.
I've seen some videos on motorbikes. I was like, that's pretty cool stuff.
Nah, I got too many friends. Honestly, I have too many friends that are now paraplegics because of motorbikes. So I've sold all my motorbikes. Got it. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just all push bike. Still can have it on a push bike, but it's a lot less likely because you don't have free power. But like once I kind of got the wheelie thing down, I was like, oh, I'll do wheelies uphill now. So I do wheelies uphill, and I was like, oh, now I want to do wheelies going downhill really fast. Oh, I do that. Now I want to do downhill wheelies in front of a car. You know what I mean? It's like this taste for difficult things kind of like grows and grows and grows. And now it's like even the learning Japanese thing, you go, how far can you go with this? You know, and then you go, it kind of ties into the business thing. It's like, well, why don't you buy the printer? Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? It's like the taste for difficulty is there. And now that I'm 31 and I make this decision to like, I want to be a father. It's like, do you know how fucking tied into a difficult situation you need to be to have your ball bag cut into twice by a doctor? You know what I mean? Like it's like, cool. I don't mind. It's all good. It's all good. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 weeks to recover. Fine. It's if this is all, that's all it is. Okay, let's do it. And I feel like the people who are telling me, and this, I go back to my original point, the people who are saying like, oh, you don't understand. It's like, brother, you don't understand. You don't understand life. If this, I get it. It's really hard. Shit that is worth it is really hard. You can either lean into the really hard, or you can kind of stand on the outside. And I'm sure you know plenty of parents like this as well. It's like they're there, but they're not there. They're not in it. They're not part of the fiber of the difficulty. They're kind of avoiding it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to get back to sleep. It's like, no, it's all good. We're going to be tired. We're going to be tired for like 6 years. It's all good. There's going to be a day when you're not going to be tired.
Hard decisions now make for an easy life in the future, right? Like,
or the other way around.
Easy decisions now make for a hard life in the future, right? Yeah. People who, and look, lots of people, and kudos to them, like if they've made that sort of life choice, they choose to avoid difficulty, right?
Right.
They take the easy road. But then from the outside, when I often look to the decisions that people have made that make those choices, they're not got an easy life.
Yeah.
Right? Their life is difficult, right? Because they took easy choices to have an easy life. They didn't want to take on the challenge. They didn't rise to the challenge.
Yep.
But they're in a difficult situation regardless now.
100%.
And life's just tough, right? On the flip side of the coin, I'm like, I will absolutely take on a challenge, right? Like, I think blokes have a tendency to want to always push the boundary. We always want to find where that boundary is, right? Yeah. You know, as kids, they say that as kids, right? Boys in particular, and I know girls absolutely as well, like want to push themselves. Boys have a tendency to always want to find the boundary. Where do I hurt myself, and that's it. Yeah. So, and they say like you give a boy a little, like a scooter, right? Like a go-kart type sort of thing. They'll ride on the flat. Cool. Yep. As soon as they've mastered the flat, then they take it on a little slope, right? Yep. Then, that was cool. Now I'm looking for a slightly bigger slope, going for a bigger hill. They'll continue to go until they hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And when they hurt themselves, they go, oh, there's the line.
That's it.
Right? Like, that's it. Yep. Cool. So can take a step back and go, okay, one level back from hurting myself is my limit. Awesome. I know where that is. And now I'll go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're constantly trying to find that. Actually, it's a real problem these days with not allowing kids, right, particularly young kids, to push themselves and take risks. They talk about it as unsupervised parenting or unsupervised risk taking, right? We often wrap children, I know we're going off topic, but wrapping children into sort of like play areas that they can't hurt themselves, can't take risks, can't find the boundaries. Inevitably, they end up, they're always will in the future, right? Yeah. We want to push ourselves. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Like, we go on adventure rides, we go on these marathons, Ironmans, like all these sorts of things where we want to push ourselves through pain, because why? At the end of it, it all feels worth it.
Yeah.
And that's business.
Yep.
At the end of it, it feels worth it. That's having children. You have a vision of what you want to try to achieve, and you're willing to take on the challenge to do that, whatever it throws at you, right?
Yeah.
And you keep rising. And then there's a point at which you look back and you go, wow, like, I achieved that, right? And raising children is absolutely one of the most beautiful things to look back on and go, hang on, that's what we do, right? And most of us get that opportunity to do that. It's probably one of our proudest and the best things in life.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the hardest things.
Yep.
Mate, business is exactly the same though. Like, in all truth, having a small business is like a child that grows, you know, and the more energy you put into it, the willingness to take on the challenges, make the hard choices early on in the business. And that means working hard. You know, it is putting in the hours, that sort of thing, makes it only more enjoyable down the road when you look back and you go, hang on, that's what we did.
Yeah, I think there's like that essential, let's say 10,000 hours to become a master of something.
Yeah.
And it's like you can take your whole life to do those 10,000 hours, or you can fit them in like 12,000 hours, you know? It's like you can literally go, I'm only going to sleep for 2,000 hours out of the next 12,000. I'm just going to work, you know? And it's like the wheelie thing, you know? You don't get it on the first 1,000 times you pull up. You don't even get it the first like 5,000 times you pull up the front wheel. And then one day 100%. You get a bit, and then you're like, oh, there it is. There it is even more. There it is even more. And all of a sudden, then it's going into like, can I do a corner doing this? Can I go up? Can I get, you know? It's like,
correct.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I'm now at the point where I'm like, yeah, I want her to be pregnant now. I want it to happen. Like I'm ready, you know? But at the same time, you know, yeah, I do, you go, oh, fucking money and, you know, my energy and the house and the support system around us is like trying to get as many things as you can ready in time, but also know that there is no perfect time.
There is never the perfect time, right? There will always be something. There's never the perfect time.
Yeah.
Planning for success and planning always helps, right? Yeah. As you go. But at the end of the day, man, there is never the perfect time.
Yeah.
A lot of people wait for the perfect time.
By the way, you could be talking about a kid or business right
now.
Yeah,
I'm kind of, people wait, right? If it was business, people wait to release a product because it's not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is just get it to market.
Yeah, test it.
Right?
Test.
Get it to market. Version 1 of your product, the first product that you release, whether you spend 10 minutes on it or you spend 10 years trying to develop it, the first time you release the product, it is version 1.
Yeah.
And I promise you, your product is not going to sustain version 1 for very long in the marketplace because the best influence on your product or service is the consumer.
Yeah, and the feedback.
Right? It's that feedback loop, right? So you need to get it to market as quickly as possible. So there's never the perfect time. Like, just run. And children, man, are like that, brother. Like, yeah.
Just give it a, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Ari Shafir quoted it really well. You know Ari Shafir, the comic?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
He said, the first draft of anything is meant to be shit.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
You know, like, don't get... And like I do a lot of creative writing as well. You never write with the intention that this is the final copy. You know, you literally are writing the skeleton of what you're going to write, and then you add on the muscles, and you add on the nerves, and you add on the skin, then you add on the character, and then you add on the feeling of it, and then you start going like, okay, now we have something that I can refine back down again. You know, and it's like that beautifully transfers into business. You know, and I think if we dial into what I do, it's like communicating that with the customer, like, hey, I've just got this new machine. I would really love to test out its capability on something that I think you would find valuable. Would you be willing to be, you know, test dummy number 1? I know it's going to work. I know we're going to deliver something awesome. I've already been doing it for the past X amount of time. So it's like, you know, I think, now I'm going into a different lane. But the idea there is it's like not being scared of that first thing being something that because it's unrecognizable, because it's not familiar, that you stop yourself from doing it at all. I feel like that's almost what people are saying, like, you don't know what it's like having a kid. It's like, yeah, I know I don't know. That's what makes me so keen to do it.
It's why I'm going to do it. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
So part of my my kind of come back into business, this sort of iteration around the past 4 years, because as I mentioned yesterday, Black Ink was a coffee van.
Yeah, yep.
And it was like, honestly, I look at it now and it was like playing marbles in the sand. I had a business, but I had no idea what I was doing. You know, I literally would make $1,000, spend $1,000. I bought the business for this much money and I sold it for this much money, and I lived the whole time in the middle just fine, you know, like had a mortgage, blah, blah, blah.
You bought yourself a job. Yep.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And without me, it stopped working. So it was essentially just a job that I had no leave, you know. But when I came back, there was like a period of time where I went to having a normal job again, knew I didn't like that, worked a lot of hours, was away from the house, the family, the thing. And I was like, all right, when we went from that situation, which was deciding, okay, having a job is this very simple equation. I'm giving time and I'm getting money in return.
Yep.
And your value is based off how much your time is worth. So an hour, we're going to pay you 25, 40, whatever it is. Truck driving, you make a lot of money per hour and you work a lot of hours. So it's great money. So you're like, I'm winning, right? Why do I fucking hate my life then? You know? So I saved up all this money and I said to Riz, like, let's go live in the caravan, just get a feel for it.
Yeah. Yep.
So then you go from, all right, we've got this chunk of money in the account, all right? We've got this chunk of money in the account, and we've got this amount of time to figure out what life is like until that runs out, and then we'll go back to normal life, you know? Or we'll see what happens. And in my mind, there was no going back to normal life because I knew I didn't like it. So I've gone on YouTube, and I'm like, how to make money online, drop shipping, cool. Who I would call this person my first official mentor is just some YouTube creator, Daniel Vass, his name was. And one of his videos was like 3-minute video. Here's the 5 books you need to read. And like, up to that point, I was like every other fucking boy my age that goes, I don't know how to read, I can't read it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's because you don't practice it. You also don't know how to do wheelies because you don't try it.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
That's how reading works. It's a skill. So I was like, well, he hasn't been wrong about this other thing over here. I'm just going to read these books, right? First one was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, cool. Yep.
This shit is my Bible. I've read it, like, I'm reading it again now for like the third or fourth time.
Yep.
And it's like I can almost rehearse the shit off the page. I put everything that Napoleon Hill, and as you know the book?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, 100%.
Right. So written in the early 1900s, everything is still completely applicable to this day. Like it's just a timeless piece of literature that basically gives you a roadmap between where you are and what you want to get. So part of that process is having a burning desire and turning it into a statement that you read aloud in the morning and at night. Those two things I immediately started doing. And even to this morning, I still, like the one that I developed back then is like 3-4 A4 pages. I know it off by heart. I rehearse it every morning. I've just recently built a new one based around what I'm trying to achieve between now and going to Japan. And in that one, I'm going to create a strong connection with Ben from Velflex. He's going to help me into the world of bulk DTF supply and creating these other income streams from my DTF printer. Like I've already told the universe the fuck I'm doing. It's that simple. So with that, I have this like method where it's like, all right, there's me here, there's where I want to be, creating the goal, the pathway back, and then just doing the steps every day to get there. So obviously as we mentioned, you're like 14 years ahead of me. Has there been something that you've implemented into your process and your strategy that looks something like that? And if so, tell me what it is.
I think mine has changed over years and things like that, just like yours has, right? Did I used to write things down? Absolutely. Like I've written things down. I've taken pictures and photos of things like a car or like the house or, that sort of thing, that I wanted and put them sort of on the wall and put them around so I could see them. Like visualization of where you want to be helps you make decisions in the moment towards that, right? That is absolutely so true. Vision, mission, values, like we talk about it in business all the time, right? Yeah. It's just something really important to have. I've had a couple of strong visions over the years, I suppose. The most recent sort of thing that I've been striving for is I want to build a home.
Yeah.
Really. Like, so I've been with my partner Trace for 14 years. We've been married for 10.
Beautiful.
We were engaged for 2 before then. Like so 14 years, we've got a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, 2 beautiful girls. But we didn't have a house, like a home. We moved a lot with the business, right? Yeah. So the business took us through all from Sydney, right around Sydney. I've lived in just about all over Sydney, north and south.
Yeah.
It brought us up here to Brisbane. Now we wanted a home. So that was kind of like a goal of ours, right? And so we worked towards that. That was what sort of drove you every morning, was to bank cash because you needed the deposit for the home, the house, the land, the build, that sort of thing, right? So different stages of my life have been dedicated to sort of what I wanted to try to achieve, sort of thing. It certainly wasn't a house go back 10 years ago. That wasn't the vision, right? I was living in Sydney. It was more about friends and connections and being able to do the things that I love doing with the people that I love.
Yep.
That's always been really important. That still carries through, strangely enough. Like that's something that I love doing. Like I love working. I love being with my team. I love being with my people, that sort of thing. But doing the things that I love doing with the people I love is kind of what drives me as an absolute whole. So it's family and friends. So we've built a home that is literally a home designed to host and
live and people. Entertain. Yeah.
Like that is it. If I was choosing to live in a home like just with my wife and my 2 girls, we built the wrong house.
Yeah.
We built the wrong house, right? We built the wrong house, the wrong space, that sort of thing, because you would literally be tying yourself to a place that is either too big or awkward you just don't need the way we've laid it out.
So did you build your house? Sorry?
Yeah, we did. We built it over the last couple of years. No.
Okay.
So and we had a plan. We designed it ourselves. We we put everything that we had into it over the last couple of years.
This is huge. I thought you bought the place and you just moved in. So this has actually been like
it was a pure design
project
that we started with 2-3 years ago. Yeah. So when you talk about what do you wake up, how do you drive? Like, no, this has been it for like 3 years now, right? 3.5 years. It was a long project. We went through 3 builders till we found the third builder is the builder that we went with, because the first 2 just weren't. You know, when you're engaging a builder, should be the honeymoon period. You know, once you sign the contract, you become just a client.
Just someone else,
Yeah, no, if it didn't feel right, I run business on gut.
Yeah.
Right? I
Same, brother.
it gut feel, right? It's a subconscious decision, right? Yeah. Vision, mission, and values. Vision, what do we want to achieve? Like what's the ultimate vision or goal that we want to have? What does it want to look like in 5 years' time?
Yep.
Cool. The mission is, well, this is what we're going to achieve, right? And this is how we're going to go about doing that. What are the values that we're going to uphold as we go along that road, right? What are my core values that I absolutely will live by, right? Fundamentals, right? They're really critical in everything that we've ever done from a business point of view. It's how I've grown the business. And I think that by having a really strong vision of what we want to achieve, personal vision, right? It relates, the vision, mission, values relates from business, but also personal life, right?
100%, yeah.
Like what's the vision of your personal life, right?
I actually think the perspective there is, like you're saying that, like, obviously we do this with business, it's very similar to impersonal, but it's like the original shit was your mission and vision and values as a person, and that also applies to business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's where it starts, you know?
Yeah, it starts at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man. You got to have a vision of what you want to achieve at home first, right? Because we work to live, not live to work.
Correct.
Right, and a lot of people forget that. That is so critical. A lot of people probably think I live to work because there's times where I put in some serious hours and I absolutely forego personal life and personal experience, you know, of enjoyment or whatever it is. There'll be people at home, family, friends at home, enjoying company, doing all the things that I wish I was doing. Where am I? I'm not there because I'm at work, or, you know, I've traveled to do something because I've put work first to go, I'm going to do that, right? Yep. But I know also what I'm working towards, and I'm really happy to do that. And I can see it coming together. Man, it's coming together absolutely towards a vision, and testament to working hard, and it'll happen. Absolutely. So that's what I do. Yeah, I have a vision of where I personally want to be and what I want it to look like. Mine is absolutely around people. Yep. So true. Some people want cars and want things, right? And a certain status in life or whatever it is. Mine is people, and being able to do the things I love doing with people. With that then comes things. You need things to be able to do that. So then that's the mission. Well, we're going to do this. We're going to have this sort of house, this sort of layout of a house that will allow this sort of thing to happen, so people can come and you can have people around type of thing. Okay, so you can kind of build it that way. Like, what's the vision? Okay, what do we need to do? Well, then we got to work hard because we need to earn to be able to buy this, you know, sort of thing, and it can build its way down. At the end of the day, what fills my heart and soul, I'm achieving. Yeah. Which is the people, and being around the people, doing the things that I love to do with the people that I love. Yeah.
I think that's, I don't know, you touched on so many great points there. The first one was, what's the ultimate vision? I love that. I love it's like, if we go forward 5 years, what's the absolute best case scenario? Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I want to have $1 million. It's like, it's not enough. You know what I mean? It's not that it's not enough money. It's not specific enough. You know, because actually, I know a lot of people that have $1 million and they suck.
Yeah, but they're not happy.
They're not happy. Like, they don't have friends. They don't have.
Do you know what a vision should? A vision needs to be emotive.
Yeah.
A vision needs to be what fills your heart, right? If you stripped everything away, but you were left with one thing and that left you happy, that's what you build your vision around. Yeah. Right? A lot of you say, I want $1 million. $1 million is pretty uncomfortable to sleep on. $1 million doesn't talk to you. $1 million, like in cash, probably doesn't look that much. Yeah. Like what is $1 million is just a means to be able to buy something or do something. Yeah. But what are the things that actually that those things going to do that fill your buckets,
Yeah.
that make your heart sing, you know, the ones that make you smile from ear to ear.
Yeah, doing
where
wheelies.
you just have, doing wheelies, right?
Yeah.
That's what you need from a vision.
Yeah.
What fills your bucket, right? And for me, it's people.
Yeah.
I absolutely know what it is for me, right? Yeah. I could be in a shit place, uncomfortable, you know, bored, surrounded by the people I want to be surrounded by, and know this I probably wouldn't want to be anywhere else, right? Yeah. That's as long as we're all in it together.
Yeah, that's right.
Like if we're all here in the shit, well then I would want to be here in the shit.
We're fine.
Right? That's exactly right. Yep. That's really important to know.
Yep.
And it's a feel thing. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
I know what you're saying. I feel like there's been some mentors in my life that are I feel like you have positive and negative mentors, because you have people that you go like, wow, there's elements of their life that I really, really appreciate and I like, and I'm trying to strive to get towards that. And then you have mentors in your life where you're like, all right, they focused on this for 40 years and they have these things around them. And every time I talk to them, they have this field of like clouds around them almost. And it's like, okay, cool. They're both maybe in a similar financial position. They both like have nice cars, and they both have, they both have similar things, but it's more like the things that they were looking out for along the way were different. And sometimes, when I translate that into my life, I go, okay, well, should I go out and do these things? Like, I've got a really good friends group. Should I go out and do these things with my friend group this weekend and know I'm probably going to spend $500 that I don't have? And it's like, yeah, I might do that actually, because I would rather do that and be broke for a little bit longer and have these stories that are consecutive. You know, like they say the 6 mini adventures a year is what keeps you alive. You've always got something to look forward to and something that you've just come out of.
Yeah, and that's so good.
And if you do that with the same group of people your whole life, it's like, man, how much did we get up to this year? How crazy was that? And it's like, this trip to Japan in February, I cannot afford to do it. I cannot afford not to do it, you know? And it's like, if that is at the cost of my Porsche coming to me a year later, so be it, you know? Because I know one thing's for sure, if I need a car to get somewhere, at least I got a friends group that'll take me there. I don't need the Porsche, you know? So it's like it's interesting that like focus on, I would say, the stuff element. Like the stuff seems to be very peripheral in the overall outcome. You know, it's like if you focus on the shit that is really important, like you're saying, like having that space in your house to be able to entertain, it's like no one's standing around the Porsche in the garage going like, man, Jake killed it. They're out here, you know, drinking, laughing, eating good food, doing the thing. And it's like, that's what's actually the fucking, you know, the fiber of it sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. And then I feel like going back on another sort of avenue you're talking about before, you're talking about the honeymoon period with your builder.
Yeah, yep.
So interesting when you've got this, like, the things that you go through organically in business kind of prepare you for real life. It's like business is this kind of like offset thing to the side where it's like you're constantly dealing with these different problems and different attitudes and different sorts of things. Then when you get to a position where you're like, right, I'm actually in a position where I can build the house. I've got the girl, I've got the family. Now we're going to do this thing. We're both pointed in this same direction. We both have the same goal. And you can sit down and talk to the builder and be sitting across from him and be like, dude, I don't fucking vibe you. You know, like next.
He didn't see our vision. Like the first builders didn't see our vision, right? The third builder, when we spoke to him, and he was like, oh, and you'd want to do this and this, wouldn't you? We're like, absolutely, this, yes.
You get it.
We were trying to get that. We were trying to explain what we wanted there to the first two, and they just didn't understand.
Right.
And he was like, oh, mate, you'd be crazy not to do that.
Right. Now, correlation
and we were like,
here,
whoa, hang on. He's understanding where we're at. Yeah,
so
yeah.
This is
correct.
the difference between my friends, and I'm not even thinking of anyone right now. So anyone listening, this isn't about you. My friends who are going like, you don't know what it's like to have a baby, compared to you saying like, look, dude, it's hard. It changes life, all these things. But alongside a business, it's like, yeah, you'll probably be able to figure it out, right?
And you absolutely will.
They're the same friends who have done fuck all, and they built a house, and they're like, you know, I wasn't really vibing the builder, but you know, we had the loan there. We're ready to go, and we do it. If we were to do it again, we'd probably change this. It's like, I've already done things again and again and again and again in business. So if I know when I'm sitting there and that dude ain't saying what I want to hear, it's like, next. yeah, we wanted to pull the trigger today, but we might have to pull it next month now. And that's cool because I know what the vision looks like. I know what the feeling is, and this dude ain't giving me the feeling.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta, mate, vision is so important, right? Like business, like having a team around you, like business vision is so critical with like suppliers, customers, the whole works, right? Having a different vision might be a different expectation of product or service, right? And if you have a mismatch there, well, somebody's going to be dissatisfied, right? Just always. And that comes down to poor communication often and stuff like that, right? Or just a bad matchup, Team, energy, like people that my staff, I've got to make sure that they have the same vision, right?
Yeah.
You talk about working with somebody from a vision point of view and whatnot, how important it is to have everybody on that. Mate, having your team on your vision. How do you think, like in a business, you buy from us, right? Your experience with our business, I'm sure, is an absolute extension of exactly the experience that I want to see.
Yeah.
But we've got 40 staff, but I make sure that every single person that we employ has the exact values myself of what I say is really important to me, right? It is hard to get somebody to have the same values. You can't tell them the values you need them to have, right?
Yeah.
We hire people who have the values that we need, right?
Yeah, you can't teach it, yeah.
Correct, you can't teach it, right? So if you would engage a builder, right, didn't quite feel they're the same as us, they didn't quite have the same values, same vision, right? But we went with them anyway. The end result, you're going to be disappointed because
you skewed on that. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. They thought other things were more important, right? And you're forever going to have conflict, right? Vision, mission, values, like in personal life, business, so critical to have them aligned.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With the people you're dealing with, customers, suppliers, like that sort of thing. Customers, man, if we have customers who don't align to our values, we don't have them as customers.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong. We don't cut them straight away. We absolutely speak to them and say, hey, just, you know what? We would love to do business with you, but we obviously don't have the same values of what's important in a business-customer relationship, in the way that we work together from a respect point of view, that sort of thing. So we're really happy if you want to work with somebody else, we're totally happy for you to go find somebody else to buy that product because we only want to be working with clients who hold the same values as us and
for sure.
Respect.
We need to be able to have a conversation.
Those sorts of things.
We can't have a conversation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, correct. Yeah. And look, no love loss, but we'd prefer if you wanted to find somebody else where absolutely no hard feelings.
How did you go? I got two things before because we're starting to dig into the limited time we have to do the actual fun part of the install. How did you go early on in business saying no to things?
It was really hard. I didn't say no. It's one of the biggest lessons I learnt midway somewhere, you know, but definitely not early enough. It's okay to say no. You don't have to say yes to everybody or everything, right? In business, we feel we build these businesses to find these customers, and then you find a customer who wants you sort of, it's like this law of attraction. You kind of, especially when you start out, you always find customers who want you to do something that is just not easy or core. I've done printing, we've done 6 meter by 3 meter cafe volants with like the Monster energy drink, right? Logo, it was massive. I did a wrestling mat with transfers all over the wrestling mat. I've done some really obscure stuff that you're like, someone knocks on your door and you're like, man, can you do this? And you're like, yeah, I could. Yeah, I absolutely could do that.
Dollar signs, ego.
And you're like thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be a good few $1,000 for this order. Yes, we could use a certain product that would stick to that product. And if I was to do it, I'd be on my hands and knees manually ironing this thing onto this mat. That is absolutely possible. Yeah. Yes, I could do it. Excellent, great. How much the cost? Oh, how much? Oh, probably be $3,000 or $4,000 because that'd take me a day or two. Cool. Done. Do it. I'm going to pay you to do it. And you walk out the door and you go, he asked me, could I do it? And the answer is yes, right? How much? Well, if I was to do it, this is the price I'd probably have to charge you to be fair. But if he'd asked, do you want to do it, I probably would have said no.
Yeah.
If I was just being honest and truthful, because that's what I'm being, honest and truthful the whole way.
You also get how many jobs have I said yes to that halfway through I'm like, what am I doing?
Absolutely, like crazy.
Because you get a certain amount of those and someone says like, hey, can you do this? You're like, no, I can't.
Just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
Right? And I learnt this. Eventually I went, you know what? Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Yeah.
You don't have to do everything. It is absolutely okay to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely okay. Just because you're in business doesn't mean you have to sell and service everything.
Yep.
It also means you even if you sell, say you sell black t-shirts, right? You sell black t-shirts with logo on it. Just because you sell it doesn't mean that if somebody knocks on your door that you have to sell it to them.
Yeah.
Right? You just might, no, sorry, we're not doing that sale today. Right? For whatever reason, right? Which also comes down to you in terms of being open and the hours. Oh, we should be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. because that's the hours that normal businesses are open.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. If that doesn't work into your values, you've got a family, you want to drop your kids to school, right? You drop your kids to school, and that's really, really important to you to be a part of their life.
Yeah.
When you drop them to school at 8 o'clock, I'm not going to get into the office till 9.
Yeah.
So you don't open your doors till 9:30. And it's just, that's core values of what you stand for.
Yep.
Having strong values like that. Anybody who comes and deals with you, hey, cool, 9:30 is when we open. I know it's a little bit late, but I love dropping my kids to school, so that's really important for me.
Yeah.
So we open at 9:30. You know what? People respect that.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned.
Boundaries.
People love
when
boundaries.
When you explain, not even, you don't have to explain yourself, but when you like, I tell you what, it's not your delivery. It's like your confidence in saying this is what it is.
Yep.
And the people go, oh, okay, that's what it is. But if you're beating around look, we get there at night. Maybe I can make. No, there's no maybe.
Yep.
This is, I run a good business. The product is great. You need the product that I've got, and this is the time frame that it happens within.
Yep.
You know, if you want to talk about, you talk to me on a Friday morning for something you need for the weekend, it's like, that's possible, but there's a hectic rush fee on it. You a hectic rush fee sort of guy? Because I am.
Yeah, we got rush fees, yeah.
You want to pay for the shit, we can do it, but this is how it works. Understand? It's not my fault you came to me on Friday morning. At the moment, we're relearning the minimum charge.
Yeah.
It's like it takes the same amount of time to set up one shirt as it does 1,000 shirts.
Yeah.
People come to me like, oh, can we print 2 shirts? It's like, no, we can't. You can, but it's going to cost you $350, so you may as well get bloody X amount of them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you're going through that process right now where you're finding out the value of time and yourself, right? And it is absolutely okay to say no, right? If you have structure around it, you're not being an arsehole. It's just these things stand for your values. What is your values, right? I want to be in business, but to be viable, I just can't do one-offs, right? They just take so much more time than what it's worth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I don't want your business. I really do. I just can't do one off because it doesn't work with our business. And I want to be here in years to come.
Yep.
If I was to sell you that one shirt and I continue to do one shirt for people, I may not be able to do any shirts for you at all in 12 months' time because I won't be in business. I won't be here. Yep. So I know my boundaries. Yep. And if that's strength, man, you want to get into a nightclub, there's the bouncer. Mate, this is invite only sort of club. Everybody wants to get in. Why? Because they've got a hard no unless you are on their invite or you're on their list, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's not free they're not saying yes to everybody, so therefore it has a higher value. People love boundaries.
That's a great metaphor.
Yeah, people love boundaries. People like to know where someone stands.
Yeah.
Or what somebody stands for.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I tried to skip stages as far as the perspective of what our business was. You try and go like, oh, don't post that photo because it shows we're definitely working from home, and like, oh, don't go for that but year number 1, it's meant to look crap. Draft 1 is meant to be crap, and it's like now we're getting to a point where sometimes I recorded a podcast the other day and I got real vulnerable in it, and then I didn't post it, and then I spent the next week thinking about like, dude, people don't want you to be refined.
No, they don't.
You're not a diamond. No. You know what I mean? Like, they like the raw. Like, Theo Von is like one of the biggest podcasts in the world right now. He had Donald Trump on his podcast, and he constantly talks about his addiction issues and his depression and how he manages it. And when I listen to him, I feel more human in myself. you know, and it's like it's this constant sort of like battling your own ego, like I said before, but at the same time, like on the other side of the coin, you're also sharpening those edges to make sure it's like when that request comes in, like, hey, can I, like I had one the other day, hey, can we supply these 2 different garments and can we get 2 different things on them? And you know that if I follow my pricing structure, it's like a less than $100 job. It's like, no, because I got to go pick it up. I've got to then do all the artwork. I've then got to print and wait a week for it to come from Velflex and da 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 da. It's like, no. And then you kind of feel like a, you know, POS saying no.
Yeah, and you do. You feel like, but you're better off saying no up front than doing it and letting the customer down and giving them a bad experience. And that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's been my experience when I've said yes to things that I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You end up giving them a worse experience than they would have if they'd found somebody who is set up to do that thing properly.
For sure. All right, last thing, just to we've already spoken about this, but just to give complete transparency to the situation, it was really interesting. We got into from the caravan to here, right?
Yeah.
We sold the caravan. I bought a screen printer and realized that ain't it.
Yeah.
You know, it was just space, skills, what it was. It's like now knowing what I know, if I had just stuck with it, it would have been fine. But at that moment, it was like, that ain't it. And I had a friend who had a heat press and he had really crappy transfers. And I remember watching him for the first time. And I'm not sure if you have many aha moments in your story, but I remember watching this. I'm like, are you serious? It just sticks on there. And that's how it works. And it's like, yeah, you can kind of feel it on your back though. And I'm like, yeah, but that's just what you're using.
Yeah,
you know, and then doing the research, I came across at the time, it was Ultra Color. I think that really took me by surprise. You know, and we got transfers and, you know, you start building this sort of like business idea. Because as I said, like at the start, the scope is just infinitely wide. And you're like, I'll do anything that makes more than 50 cents, you know? And then it got to like, oh, I might get my own heat press. Had I guess you could call him like an angel investor coming from the side and be like, I believe in you. I'm going to buy your heat press for you. And that was my STX that I bought off you. I was like, fuck yeah, this is awesome, you know? And then continued to get transfers, got a vinyl cutter and printer, started getting the printable digital subli light. I was like, all right, now we can design, print, press all on the same day. It's like we can turn a concept into a physical thing we can sell like this. So Black Ink starts to, you know, go down the whole brand route and then marketing that. It turned into people saying that us could create things in-house from an idea to, hey, can you do our uniforms? Can you do our merch? Can you do this and that? And then, you know, can you do hats? We buy a hat press and all, you know, the growth was very like, I keep saying organic. It just felt like it was organic. I kept going where the money was. I kept going where the desire was for people to give me money, you know? And then when we figured out, my primary mentor was like, dude, have you heard of DTF? I'm like, yeah, so, you know, the only reference I had was people doubting it. So I was like, yeah, it's shit house. He goes, I don't know. I just got like 5 meters of DTF and spent, you know, 20 minutes cutting it all out and then just pressing it. That's his heat press in there.
Yeah.
The second one.
Yep.
And he's like, you know, I'm wearing one of the shirts now. Like, check this out. I'm like, give me a feel of that. I'm like, how does it feel on you? He goes, well, I can't feel it. I'm like, all right, now we're cooking. Somewhere. So then it turned into, right, gang sheets. Because before the itemized, you know, if you want something this big, or this big is a different price and you got to get so many of them to justify it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, the gang sheet is where it's at because I can fit so much on a gang sheet because, you know, designer, da. So then we went down that route and I was going through the competition of yours who has very persistent and almost annoying marketing about how theirs doesn't do this, that, or the other. And I was like, all right, well, they're the guys in DTF. I don't think I really knew you did DTF.
We didn't do DTF.
No. And it was earlier this year, Riz and I were on our first holiday, basically ever besides living in the caravan. And we're in Melbourne. You were also on holiday. You were walking on a beach. And you called me. And you're like, dude, where are you getting your DTF transfers from? I said, oh, these people. You're like, what do we need to do to get you to get them from us? And I was like, I don't know, match their price. You're like, what's that? Okay, here's what it is. Off you go. And it was, I think there and then, you may have just got your DTF printers up and running.
Yeah,
you said, send us what you're doing now and we'll do your first run for free. And I'm like, fucking oath, check this out. 11 meters.
yeah. Man, we just installed it and we wanted customers, like you talked about this earlier, going to customers and just letting them try. You know it's going to be successful, but you just want to let go through the journey of experience, both of you, right?
Yeah.
The customer and us as supplying you product, right?
Yeah.
I knew you used DTF product from somebody else, and I was just like, I want to get your feedback on the experience.
Yep.
I want to go through the experience with a customer, and I want them to go through the experience with me and give honest feedback. And that's what that call was about, man. That was like, what do I need to do to be able to sell you some product?
I remember more of the detail now. You're like, what do you not like about their experience?
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, funny you asked that. They fucking tape their stuff up with these little paper stickers, and you cannot nicely peel. Hey, it doesn't matter that it doesn't press onto the shirt. It doesn't affect the overall thing. It's just me when I open the shit and it's got this paper sticker that never comes off properly. That drives me nuts. You're like, okay, noted, cool. What else? They come in these boxes, and I just like, I already knew because I've already accepted these so many times. This is a problem with their ordering. This is a problem with their communication. This is a problem with the design thing on the website. Like I knew.
It was around customer service as well. You were like, if I send them an email, they may not get back to me to that night.
Crazy.
I think it was customer service.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And I said also, I don't like this thing of me having to go through their funnel to take my money and my order. And you're like, cool, all right. So let's say we charge you this much. Let's say I'll give you someone that you can email directly.
Yep,
let's say we set up an automatic debit so you don't have to worry about payment after the fact, this, that, and the other. I'm like, cool, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And this first round is for free. Just try it.
Just to go through the motions.
Just try it.
Yep.
Now, fast forward, okay? I'm like, sweet, I'm ordering, like, as that product was so valuable to me, my business could then organically grow because now I'm selling your product to my customers. And it's like, I know this works. It works across this, that, and the other. So then my scope went from narrowing to now opening back up, but with a more precise product that I'm delivering. At the same time, I'm going on I'm going on a various range of garments. You know, everything that I'm wearing is something that I sell, and they're all from different suppliers. Brilliant. And the way that I'm adhering to them is like so bulletproof that I'm like, this is it. I now start to understand what the business is. Go forward from there, it must have been literally 3 months. And that's when Riz and I are like driving around like, hey, what if we bought our own DTF printer? How much do we spend? How much have we paid off? All right. Hey, Ben, this is what I want to do. The only hold up I have at the moment is like, I got the money, I got the idea. I don't have anywhere to put it. And that's when it was like, you know, you kind of said, hey, maybe a commercial property is not the way to go. Maybe putting in a sea container kind of sucks out loud, but, you know, here's what I think. Fast forward another 3 months and you're here installing the DTF printer.
In your own home, like at home right
Bizarre.
now. In a workshop that you've got built, mate, it's the best setup. It's awesome. It's so good, man.
Think about it, it doesn't make sense. I'm just so blown away. And to tie this back to the Think and Grow Rich thing, if you pull apart my prayers, my thing that I say every morning and night, this is it. Like it actually happened. It actually came to fruition. Like I didn't know what it looked like, but I know what it felt like. This is it. It's bizarre, you know? And
mate, if you have a vision, like you've got a great girl, man, you're looking at having children in the future, the near future, you've got a business that's just starting out, mate, the way that you've positioned this and the way that you're doing this is absolutely fulfilling the vision of the things that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like you are absolutely got a clear path. Even if you didn't know it, you are making, because you had a vision of the things that are important to you, your decision making around what you're doing is aligning you to that.
Yeah.
Right? You haven't chosen to take on a commercial property that would separate you from time.
Yep.
Between being home and being somewhere else working, right? Like you've aligned these things. Man, it's awesome. So good. Well done.
Very exciting. I just wanted to, like, following all of that, just like, thank you for calling me that day. Thank you for coming and installing. Thank you for having a business that like gets me excited about having a business.
Yeah, good.
You know what I mean?
And that's what we want, right? My vision, right? Ultimately, but from a work vision, is to empower our customers to be the best garment decorators they can be.
Yeah,
like that's the vision of what we're trying to achieve, right? Empower them, and empower them is between product and service and supply, that sort of thing. I talk to my team when they like I onboard them on that sort of thing. We should always add value to the people around us, right? That is adding value to the staff around them, so the people next door, but our customers. If you ever call us and you pick up the phone, we answer, hello, you've called Velflex. We should be smiling on the end, right? Why? Because we want to be adding value to your day. You should get off the phone and be like, gee, that was a nice call.
Yeah.
You know, like that was awesome. Not we took something away because we were a bit drab. You know those calls you call and they answer 100%. And they go, hello, how you doing? What can I do for you? It's like, geez, like.
What are we doing? Yeah.
What are we doing here? If we can add a little bit with just a little bit of politeness, respect, you know, a smile over the phone, you can feel that, right?
Yeah, that's the goods.
Yeah, so we sell transfers, man, and we do transfer products and services, but those are the things that we're thinking about.
Yep.
We add value to people's lives that we touch, and that's important. Like, man, I love business. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, how good.
Cool.
And just tell me, so from February when you called me and we've got this new DTF printer, here's what we're doing, rah. So that was like zero, somewhere around zero. How many meters of DTF are you printing a day?
Us now?
Yeah.
We had a couple of days last week where it was 178, 179 meters a day, and I think the next day was 170 meters a day. Yeah, so we're sort of from 150 to 200 meters a day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's when you're telling me yes, I'm like putting that in my mind. I'm like, I actually can't feasibly understand what that looks like. And that's just one arm of your business. There's so many.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So cool. All right, let's go install this ETF printer.
Mate, so good.
How
Pleasure.
exciting.
Cheers, man.
Bloody oath.